Time of the End Timeline Study, Part 5. In Part 4, we examined the last 7 years of the end time, which is the 70th seven of Daniel 9, and popularly called the Tribulation. The last 7 years breaks down like this. The Antichrist confirms a covenant of peace and safety. After 3.5 years, the Antichrist sets up the abomination that causes desolation. The abomination starts the final 3.5 years, called the Great Tribulation. In this part of our study, we will briefly examine some of what happens during the last 3.5 years, which Christ called the Great Tribulation. The duration of the Great Tribulation is the most documented time in Scripture. It's referenced 8 times in the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation. I will list the references so you can see. For each of these references, Scripture tells us what is happening. He, the Antichrist, will speak against the Most High and oppress the saints and try to change the set times and laws. The saints will be handed over to him for 3.5 years. Antichrist will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7. In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering, and on the wing of the temple he will set up the abomination that causes desolation, until the end that is decreed is poured out on him. It will be for 3.5 years when the power of the holy people has been finally broken, and all these things will be completed. In Revelation 11, exclude the outer court and do not measure it, because it has been given to the Gentiles. They will trample on the holy city for 3.5 years, and I will give my power to 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy for 3.5 years, clothed in sackcloth. Revelation 12. The woman, Israel, fled into the desert to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 3.5 years. The woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, so that she might fly to the place prepared for her in the desert, where she would be taken care of for 3.5 years, out of the serpent's reach. Revelation 13. Men worship the dragon because he gave authority to the Antichrist, and they worshiped the beast and asked, who is like the beast and who can make war against him? The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies, and to exercise his authority for 3.5 years. As we see, Antichrist will rule and persecute God's people during the 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation. Another very interesting fact about the last 3.5 years is that at the same time, Satan is loosed and loses his access to heaven. As we see in Revelation 12, Satan is thrown down from heaven to earth by Michael, the archangel, at the beginning of the last 3.5 years. This same time, Antichrist goes into the temple of God and proclaims himself God, as described in this next prophecy by the Apostle Paul. Antichrist sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. And you know what is holding him back, so that he may be revealed at the proper time. The one who now holds Satan back will do so until Michael is taken out of the way. Then the lawless one, Antichrist, will be revealed. When Satan and his angels are thrown down from heaven, we are told there will be damage to the earth and sea. Damage to the earth and sea is exactly what occurs as the first trumpets of Revelation 8 sound. The trumpets will sound during the Great Tribulation. just as Christ told us in Matthew 24. There will be great tribulation, unequaled from the beginning of the world. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. False Christ and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles. Time of the End Timeline Study, Part 5. In Part 6, we'll examine what happens at the end of the Great Tribulation when Christ returns and gathers his faithful followers, those who obey Yahweh's commandments and hold to the testimony of Yeshua, the Messiah, called Jesus the Christ.